Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Tanvi Taneja, coming up in the next 30 minutes. Prime Minister Narendra Modi asserts India ready to pay a heavy price but will never compromise on the interests of its farmers. India terms Trump's additional 25% tariff move as unfair, unjustified and unreasonable, asserts to take actions necessary to protect national interests. Taiwanese chip-making company TSMC exempted from Trump's 100% semiconductor and chip tariff. Companies manufacturing in the US or those who have committed to do so will be exempted. US President says there's a good chance of his meeting with Vladimir Putin next week. This comes as US envoy Steve Witkoff holds talks with the Russian president ahead of the Friday deadline for Moscow to agree to end the Ukraine conflict. And Uttarakhand Chief Minister oversees large-scale rescue operation in flood-hit Dharali. At least 190 people rescued so far. Indian Air Force continues the rescue operation amid inclement weather. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in strong words, asserted on Thursday that farmers remain India's top priority and the country would never compromise their interests. Speaking at the inaugural ceremony of MS Swaminathan Centenary International Conference in New Delhi's Indian Council of Agricultural Research, PUSA, PM Modi said that the government has recognized the farmer's strength as the foundation of the nation's progress. Prime Minister Modi asserted that India will not compromise on the interests of its farmers and fishermen.
हमारे लिए अपने किसानों का हित सर्वोच्च प्राथमिकता है। भारत अपने किसानों के, पशुपालकों के और मछुआरे भाई बहनों के हितों के साथ कभी भी समझौता नहीं करेगा। और मैं जानता हूं व्यक्तिगत रूप से मुझे बहुत बड़ी कीमत चुकानी पड़ेगी, लेकिन मैं इसके लिए तैयार हूं। आज भारत तैयार है।
Prime Minister Modi further said that Dr. Swaminathan went beyond biodiversity and gave the visionary concept of bio-happiness. On the occasion, the Prime Minister released a commemorative coin and a centenary memorial stamp dedicated to Professor MS Swaminathan, father of India's Green Revolution. Professor Swaminathan is credited with saving millions of people from starvation through his landmark work on enhancing productivity and production of wheat and rice crops during the 1960s and 70s.
साथियों, डॉक्टर स्वामीनाथन ने भारत को खाद्यान्न में आत्मनिर्भर बनाने का अभियान चलाया, लेकिन उनकी पहचान हरित क्रांति से भी आगे बढ़कर थी। वो खेती में केमिकल के बढ़ते प्रयोग और मोनोकल्चर फार्मिंग के खतरों से किसानों को लगातार जागरूक करते रहे। यानी एक तरफ वो ग्रेन प्रोडक्शन बढ़ाने का प्रयास कर रहे थे और साथ ही उन्हें एनवायरनमेंट की, धरती मां की भी चिंता थी। दोनों के बीच संतुलन साधने और चुनौतियों का समाधान करने के लिए उन्होंने एवर ग्रीन रिवॉल्यूशन का कंसेप्ट दिया। उन्होंने बायो विलेज का कंसेप्ट दिया, जिसके जरिए गांव के लोगों और किसानों का सशक्तिकरण हो सकता है।
Further, Prime Minister Modi also gave away the MS Swaminathan Award for Food and Peace to Professor Ademola A. Adenele of Nigeria. Professor Adenele has led 15 years of pioneering research on genetically modified organisms in Africa. The award included a citation and a cash prize of $25,000. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday signed an executive order imposing an additional 25% tariff on Indian exports to the US, citing India's ongoing Russian oil purchases. India has fired back at US Trump's additional 25% tariff move and said that New Delhi had already made clear its stance on imports from Russia. India's External Affairs Ministry in a statement said that the US has in recent days targeted India's oil imports from Russia. The statement added that India has made clear its position on these issues, including the fact that India's imports are based on market factors and done with the overall objective of ensuring the energy security of 1.4 billion people of India. It is therefore extremely unfortunate that the US should choose to impose additional tariffs on India for actions that several other countries are also taking in their own national interest. India reiterated that these actions are unfair, unjustified and unreasonable. The statement added that India will take all actions necessary to protect its national interests. After the latest order, the total US tariff on Indian goods will be 50%. While the initial duty becomes effective on August 7th, the additional levy will come into effect after 21 days. The additional tariff will be imposed on all Indian goods imported into the US, except for goods already in transit or those meeting specific exemptions. Industries that will face the impact of these tariffs include textiles, gems and jewelry, seafood, leather and footwear, animal products, chemicals, and electrical and mechanical machinery. Products exempt from these elevated tariffs are pharmaceutical items, energy resources such as crude oil, refined fuels, natural gas, coal and electricity, critical minerals and various electronic components including computers, tablets, smartphones, solid-state drives, flat panel displays and integrated circuits. Meanwhile, the Global Trade Research Institute, GTRI, on Wednesday called the United States' decision to impose an additional 25% tariff on Indian imports hypocritical, highlighting Washington's selective approach towards its allies and China when it comes to their trade relations with Moscow. The GTRI in its statement said that the US had overlooked Russia's trade with the European Union and China, noting selective enforcement on India, exposing Washington's hypocrisy. According to the data given by GTRI, China purchased $62.6 billion of Russian oil in 2024, surpassing India's $52.7 billion. Yet, Beijing faces no punitive tariffs. It also noted that the US has turned a blind eye to the EU's $39.1 billion US imports from Russia in 2024, including $25.2 billion in oil, while the US itself purchased $3.3 billion in strategic materials from Russia. It stated that this selective targeting not only threatens India's $86.5 billion in exports to the US, but also raises questions about the credibility of US trade policy, as the move is expected to potentially reduce Indian exports to the US by 40 to 50%. India's Russian oil imports follow global norms, legal, transparent and within the price cap. Yet it's India that's facing the heat, while Europe and others continue quietly. As data exposes the real talk buyers, questions grow over Western double standards. DD India's Tapas Bhattacharya reports.
Funding Putin's war machine, that's the latest charge flying around. And who's the target? Not China, not Europe, India. But here is the truth no one wants to admit, because it exposes their own hypocrisy. Let's break it down and find answer to some of the questions raised. Question number 1. Is Russian oil even sanctioned? No, it is not. Russian oil isn't banned like Iran's or Venezuela's. The West, the G7, the European Union put a price cap on it. Why? So oil keeps flowing, but Moscow earns less. India buys under that cap legally, transparently, within global norms. So what's the outrage really about? Question 2. Why target India? Well, simple. It's a blame game because when Europe and its allies keeps buying quietly, they need someone loud to point fingers at. Question number 3. Who are the actual top buyers of Russian oil? Well, from December 2022 to July 2025, China had got 47%, India only 38%, European Union and Turkey 6% each. So let's get this straight. India isn't the problem. India is part of the same market everyone else is playing in. Question number 4. What about gas? Surely India's buying that too? Well, wrong again. The biggest buyer of Russian gas is the European Union. In June 2025 alone, European Union paid over 1.2 billion euro to Russia. France, Netherlands, Slovakia, Hungary, all in. So maybe ask Brussels some tough questions too. Well, question number 5. Refined fuel. India doesn't buy it, but NATO's ally Turkey brought 26%. China and Brazil also major buyers. India, zero, zilch. Question number 6. Is India violating rules? Not even close. India buys from the private traders below the cap with legal insurance, legal shipping, everything by the book. So where is the crime? Question number 7. What if India stopped buying today? The world would pay the price, quite literally. Oil could spike beyond $200 a barrel. Fuel cost, transport, inflation, global shockwaves. India didn't break the system. India kept it from collapsing. Question number 8. Is India doing this for selfish reasons? Actually, no. Even US officials have said it. We are happy for India to keep buying oil. That was said by US Treasury Secretary. India helped stabilize global markets. That's Biden's energy advisor in 2024. India delivered. Prices didn't spike. That was US Ambassador Garcetti, May 2024. Question number 9. What about the West double standards? Here is what they won't say out loud. European Union still imports Russian crude through pipelines to Hungary, Slovakia, Czech Republic. Japan got an exemption till 2026. European Union's 18th sanctions package packed with loopholes for the UK, Canada, Norway, Switzerland, and yes, United States. So again, who is really funding whom? Don't fall for selective outrage. The numbers don't lie. The facts don't bend. And India won't either. This is Tapush Bhattacharya signing off.
In a major sign of growing global influence of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Brazilian President Lula da Silva plans to call him on Thursday to discuss the high tariffs being imposed by the US on many countries of the global south, including India and Brazil. President Lula is also seeking more business and trade with India. DD India's Shobhan Saxena reports from Sao Paulo.
Even as Brazil faces 50% tariff on its exports to the US, President Lula da Silva of Brazil is refusing to call US President Donald Trump to discuss the issue. Instead, the Brazilian leader has said he is looking forward to enhancing trade relations with countries like India. On Wednesday, in an important announcement, President Lula said he would call Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India to discuss the tariff issue and also to develop a common strategy to tackle the pressure coming from Washington. President Lula's call with PM Modi is expected to be followed by discussions with other members of the BRICS group as Brazil tries to buffer the impact of rising US protectionism. The Brazilian leader enjoys a great personal chemistry with the Indian Prime Minister, who has visited Brazil twice in recent times, for the G20 summit in November 2024 and for the BRICS meeting in July this year. Brazil currently holds the BRICS presidency. It will be India's turn to host the summit in 2026. On Wednesday, in an interview with a news agency, President Lula said he saw no room for direct talks with President Trump, which he believes would turn into a humiliation for him. He also said that the President of the United States trying to dictate rules for a sovereign country like Brazil is unacceptable to him. On the other hand, President Lula is quite optimistic about close relations with India. During PM Modi's state visit to Brasilia on July 8 this year, President Lula had said his country aims to triple trade flows with India from $12 billion last year. Now all eyes of the world are on the Indian Prime Minister as he gets an important call from a strategic partner.
Moving on, the Supreme Court of India on Thursday declined the plea of Justice Yashwant Bharma of Allahabad High Court challenging the validity of in-house three-judge inquiry committee's report. The top court said that Justice Bharma's conduct does not inspire confidence, so his plea should not be entertained. Meanwhile, Chief Justice of India Sanjeev Khanna recommended the impeachment proceedings against him. The in-house inquiry panel found him guilty of misconduct in the cash discovery case. Under the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, women of self-help groups of Etah district of India's northern Uttar Pradesh state are setting an example of patriotism. Women of these groups formed in different parts of the district together prepare about 1.25 lakh national flags. By preparing these flags, not only has a sense of self-pride been awakened in women, but their income is also increasing. Deputy Commissioner in charge of Rural National Livelihood Mission, Prabhu Dayal, said that all these tricolours prepared will be installed on Gram Panchayats and government buildings. Also, common citizens will be able to buy them easily. You're watching DD India Live, still to come on the show. Thailand and Cambodia key ministerial level meeting on Thursday as a fragile truce continues to hold a week after the two sides agreed on de-escalation. Made in India, Dhanush artillery gun system played a crucial role during Operation Sindoor. Stay tuned for an exclusive report from Dras at the LOC. And on National Handloom Day, 3-day India International Handwoven Expo begins at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello. Johar. Arey, it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout ho gaya.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Tanvi Taneja. Updates on the flash floods in the northern Indian state of Uttarakhand next. Chief Minister Pushkar Singh Dhami has been continuously monitoring the rescue operation in Dharali. Chief Minister Dhami met with National Disaster Response Force, State Disaster Response Force and administrative officials in Uttarkashi on Thursday morning and reviewed progress. Dhami also instructed to make the heli rescue operation started in the affected areas from this morning. Dhami also ordered to monitor the supply of drinking water and food grains along with the early restoration of roads and communication and electricity systems. He also appreciated the dedication of all the rescue teams. Earlier, Chief Minister Dhami held a late-night meeting with the rescue officials of National Disaster Response Force and Indo-Tibetan Border Police in Uttarkashi.
अब ये जो धराली में आपदा आई है उसके लिए हमारी टीमें लगभग 4 टीमें हैं, लेकिन चूंकि रास्ता जैसा सबको मालूम है कि सड़क टूटी होने की वजह से नहीं पहुंच पाए हैं, लेकिन कल जो हेलीकॉप्टर्स के माध्यम से 35 लोग पहुंच चुके हैं और अभी हमारे जो मॉर्निंग से आप देख रहे हैं हेलीकॉप्टर्स जाने शुरू हैं, उसमें हमारे लोगों की आवागमन शुरू हो गई है। साथ ही वहाँ पर जो कम्युनिकेशन का इशू था, आज सुबह ही हमारा जो एक QDA होता है उसने भी काम करना शुरू कर दिया। कुछ सैटेलाइट फोन भी हमारे वहाँ पे काम कर रहे हैं, जो कि इस ऑपरेशन में एक बहुत बड़ी मददगार साबित होगी।
Dhami also held a meeting with the district magistrates of the state and instructed them to shift people living on the banks of rivers and drains to other places. The Indian Air Force also initiated a joint rescue and relief operation as flash floods in Uttarkashi's Harsil left the region isolated. Air Force stations in northern state of Uttar Pradesh's Agra and Bareilly were activated overnight to load relief and rescue material and to coordinate with Indian Army personnel for deployment in the rescue missions. Despite dense fog and persistent rainfall hampering flight operations in the morning hours, the Indian Air Force stated that a brief improvement in visibility was being utilized to conduct sorties. So over 200 people have been rescued from Dharali following the devastating cloudburst that triggered massive flash floods and landslides in the area. The rescue and relief operations in the affected areas are in full swing. That is being carried out with the help of Army, NDRF, IDBP, SDRF, Uttarakhand Police and local administration. The work of opening the closed roads is also going on continuously and efforts are on to ensure normalcy returns. The India Meteorological Department forecast heavy rainfall to continue over Uttarakhand. The district administration of Uttarkashi, meanwhile, has announced a holiday for all government and private schools and Anganwadi centres in the district in the wake of the prediction of heavy rainfall in the district on Thursday. Further, people rescued under Uttarkashi disaster relief operation were brought from Harshil to Jolly Grant Airport, Dehradun today by the Chinook helicopters. Everyone is being medically examined at the airport. Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. delivered a foreign policy address in New Delhi on Wednesday, which was hosted by the Observer Research Foundation, ORF. The Philippine President underscored the centuries-old ties between the Philippines and India, emphasizing their strategic partnership and shared commitment to a free, open Indo-Pacific region. Marcos echoed Prime Minister Modi's vision of both nations as friends by choice but partners by destiny, advocating for global governance structures resilient to geopolitical shocks. He also reinforced cooperation in defense, security and economic growth. The address was part of Marcos' state visit to India. Philippine President Marcos Jr. is in India from August 4th till the 8th of this month.
In a far different and indisputably multimodal world, our respective journeys converge once again. We remain bastions of democracy, but this time we are also amongst the most ascendant economies. The Philippines is on the cusp of upper middle income status, attainable as early as next year. India, of course, can be proud of your spectacular rise under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi and the intellectual gravitas, innate talent, and industry of Indian people, rising to become the world's fourth largest economy and the country wielding enormous global influence.
India's artillery passed with flying colours in Operation Sindoor with Pakistan. The Made in India Dhanush artillery gun system is in service with the Army's artillery units since 2019. Our correspondent Nandita Dagar travelled to Dras at the LOC and filed this report.
The Dhanush artillery gun system, completely made in India, designed and developed in India. Designed by our DRDO and manufactured by ordnance factories. This howitzer gun with 155mm caliber has a range of almost 50 kilometers, and therefore on our northern borders with China and on our western borders with Pakistan, Dhanush artillery gun system can be a game changer. The barrel of this 155mm caliber howitzer can rotate 360 degrees, means like that, completes a full circle. And of course, it can lower or increase its angle. It has an angle of high angle of above 60 degrees. It moves not just self-propelled, but also it is towed by the field artillery tractors, which are vehicles which will tow it. So on the towed mode and self-propelled mode, a computer on board, inertial navigation system, so that it can give the coordinates of the target very, very accurately an example of Make in India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, as we say in Hindi, or self-reliant India. Made in India, howitzer Dhanush can be a game changer in the next war that India fights. You must have seen this Polaris all-terrain vehicle on TV. The army has acquired this Polaris all-terrain vehicle for climbing steep gradients. Up to 40 degrees of incline can be climbed by the army, where its usual Mahindra Scorpios and its gypsies cannot traverse that terrain. This Polaris ATV vehicle, they were imported earlier, but now they are being built in India by JSW Industries with camera person Manmohan in the Dras sector. This is Nandita Dagar for DD India.
India is celebrating the 11th National Handloom Day today. On the occasion, 3-day India International Handwoven Expo has begun at Bharat Mandapam in New Delhi from today. The Handloom Export Promotion Council is organizing the B2B event, which aims to showcase the rich legacy, innovation and global potential of Indian handlooms, providing a platform for weavers, exporters, international buyers and other stakeholders. About 100 overseas trade visitors from prominent textile importing countries and 200 exhibitors from all over India are participating in the expo. In international news, US President Donald Trump could meet Russian President Vladimir Putin very soon following the talks between his special envoy and the Russian leader in Moscow. The potential summit was discussed in a call between Trump and Ukrainian leader Volodymyr Zelensky that included NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte and the leaders of Britain, Germany and Finland. Trump gave no indication where the meeting with Putin might take place. It would be the first US-Russia leadership summit since former President Joe Biden met with his counterpart in Geneva in June 2021. Thailand and Cambodia will convene a key ministerial level meeting today as a fragile truce continues to hold almost a week after the two sides agreed on de-escalation last Monday. Preliminary talks between Thailand and Cambodia's defense officials started on Monday in Malaysia with the aim to establish mechanisms to maintain the truce and prevent future conflicts. The violence, the worst in over a decade, has killed at least 43 people and displaced over 300,000. And that's all for this edition of DD India Live. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. Connect with us on our different social media handles at DD India Live. And you can also download our DD India mobile app for quick news and updates on the go. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Tanvi Taneja from all of us here in New Delhi. Thank you for watching. Namaskar.